More games.
Hello everybody, Jim here. Welcome back to Mad Panic Gaming, coming to you once again from my palatial, spacious, monstrous apartment here in Tokyo on what is kind of a gloomy, overcast spring day today. And a day I don't have to go to work, thankfully, and it's the perfect kind of day to sit at home, play some games, and talk about them. And oh boy, I got some good stuff right here. I got more games. So you know what that means. It's time for a video. Look at this big old stack of Mega Drive games. A lot of jelly in these donuts. Yeah, I picked up a big bunch of Mega Drive games recently on a game hunting trip that I unfortunately was not filming on. Little do you know, I actually have a private life. I don't film everything I do. But I was actually just on a game hunt to a place that I actually pretty recently did a video on. I went back there just this past weekend to see if they had restocked any games or anything, and luckily they did. So I took some pictures and stuff on my phone, but wasn't shooting video that day. But I did get a big stack of 8 Mega Drive games. And so now we're going to talk about them. We're going to look at some video games. Isn't that nice? Isn't that kind of the point of the channel, to look at video games and stuff? It is, in case you didn't know, in case gaming in the name didn't give it away. All right, so I got some shoot-'em-ups. I got at least one fighting game, 2 fighting games actually, and I got some other good stuff too. A lot of variety in this show, okay? We're going to start right off the bat though. Pretty excellent game. This here, folks, is Darius 2. Which I feel like this was ported to some kind of like mini console recently, and it was kind of a big deal. Like Segaya, like maybe it was called Segaya or Segaya 2 or something. But anyway, on the Mega Drive, Darius 2. Okay, this is an awesome game. I am more partial to like maybe like Darius Gaiden, some of the like more recent Darius games. But this is still an awesome one. But the Darius games, especially the early ones, they give me kind of a vibe of almost like a Gradius, where if you're really powered up, then you're like an unstoppable killing machine. But if you die like later into the game, you're basically screwed. You might as well start the game over, because you can collect all your power-ups in here. You can power up your main shot, you can power up your bombs, and you can power up your shield, and that's like a super important power up in this game. Your shield lets you take a few hits before dying, which is obviously very nifty, because you're probably going to get hit quite a few times. So if you have all of that, if you've got a fully powered up shield and a powered up shot and bombs and everything, you're pretty unstoppable in this game. But if you lose all that stuff, you're back down to your basic pea shooter. You're kind of screwed. But then, you know, it's Darius. That's kind of like the name of the game. It's a tough old school shooter. But pretty decent graphics, pretty decent sound design, and giant spaceships made to look like fish. So who can argue with that? So a pretty good game, and honestly still pretty affordable on the Mega Drive. I feel like I paid like maybe 15 bucks for this, and it's complete with manual and everything, so that's pretty cool. Darius 2, very happy with that pickup. Got another shoot-'em up here, originally developed by Toaplan, but I guess the Mega Drive version is ported by Traco, wherever the hell Traco is, but this is Tkyo Tiger, which you might know it better as Twin Cobra. And this is a game, recently I sort of reviewed it because M2 Shot Triggers, they released, as part of their Shooting Garage line of games, they released the Tkyo Tiger Shooting Garage, which had like every version of Tkyo Tiger on it, including the arcade version, the Mega Drive version, the American Genesis version, and the PC Engine version. And if you saw that video, you know I said that I found the PC Engine version to actually be the better version of this game. And I do still stand by that opinion, but I must say this is still a pretty decent game. I like shooters like this. Like, it feels like a ton of shooters at the time were just like this. So I like Tkyo Tiger. I like Fire Shark, aka Same Same Same, and like the original Raiden or Truxton. A lot of these shooters kind of run together. They have very similar gameplay and gameplay mechanics, but that's just fine because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So in Tkyo Tiger, you have 3 different shot types to choose from. You have your standard red shot, which is pretty useful. You have your green laser shot, which is not especially useful unless you're fighting a boss. Then you have my favorite weapon, which is the blue spread shot, which I feel like gets the job done because there are a lot of instances where like there are a lot of smaller enemies on screen, lots of planes and tanks and things, and I'm just a spread shot kind of guy. What can I tell you? I like my blue spread shot in here, and you got your super bombs as well. This is another game that when you're really powered up, you're an absolute beast, and then you get hit once, and then you're way back down to a starting power level, and you're just totally screwed. Just start the game over. But still a lot of fun. And this is another one, not too terribly expensive. I want to say another one that was like 15 bucks or so. Again, keeping in mind, I picked this up in a hard off in like Saitama, I think. I didn't pick this up in like some, you know, something on Main Street in Akihabara or whatever, but still pretty good. Good price for a complete game. Can't complain about that. Next up, we got a fighting game. And a fighting game that is not particularly good at all, but just when I see something with turtles on it, I just have to pick it up. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters for the Mega Drive. And this is an instance where, you know, there are 2 versions, 2 different ports of this game. There's the Genesis version, there's the Super Nintendo version, both made by Konami, mind you. I don't know what the hell happened here. Like, did they give this game to like some new guys or whatever? Because the Super Nintendo game is pretty good. The graphics are nice, the soundtrack is really good, and it's a pretty decent playing fighting game, all things considered. Nothing really bad to say about the SNES version. Here, though, like, I don't know what the hell happened. The graphics are kind of shitty. Like, some of the backgrounds are detailed, they're kind of cool looking. But they're totally static. Like, it would be much better if there was like some cool animation going on. The look of the characters is kind of odd. If I'm not mistaken, this is more inspired by the comic books than the animated series or anything, which is fine. And the plot is kind of cool. Like, the good guys, like, because all the characters, I think all the playable characters are like good guy characters. But you all have to go to Dimension X, where they have like evil, like alternate universe versions of themselves, kind of like Bizarro versions of all the good guys. And then, if I'm not mistaken, this is the game. Is it this game or is it the SNES game that introduced Karai? I don't know. I forget now. I just sat down to play this like last week and I can't even remember. But I talked about this game recently when I did the TMNT collection that was released on the Switch. So I had, you know, my memory had been refreshed a little bit, but it's not a decent playing game, it's not a decent looking game, it's not a decent sounding game. This is a subpar fighting game, again, which is shocking, because this is a Konami game, and usually, like, especially when it comes to like 16-bit, I mean, look at any other Konami game published on the Mega Drive or Genesis. I mean, Tiny Toons, Castlevania Bloodlines, Contra, even Sunset Riders, even though that's an inferior port to the SNES version, it's still an enjoyable enough game. This game, though, is just like flat out bad, which is really disappointing. And then Hyperstone Heist was awesome too. How could I forget Hyperstone Heist? But this, as it stands, not a great game at all. And I picked it up complete. And this was actually probably close to like 30 bucks or so. Which, again, it's a bad game, but, you know, it's got turtles on it. And look, I just can't say no to turtles. I don't know what to tell you. Next up, a pretty awesome game. In Japan, it's called Shinjo no Okami, or Sinjo no Okami. It's called Mercs in the US, but here it is, Sinjo no Okami 2, which, in case you didn't know, the original Sinjo no Okami, it means Wolf of the Battlefield. The first game in the series was actually ported over as Commando in English. So this is the direct sequel to Commando. And it's kind of like the more futuristic version of Commando. It actually reminds me a bit of Shock Troopers, which if anyone's ever played Shock Troopers on Neo Geo, that game's awesome. But it's a top-down run and gun in the same vein as Commando, but it's way beefed up. It's like the Commando for the 90s, baby. Even though, was this? Yeah, 1990 was when this was released. Thank you, Back of the Box. Yeah, but it's fun enough. You got a bunch of different characters to choose from. Lots of different weapons and things to play with, grenades and all that good stuff. Lots of enemies. Fairly vibrant visuals. And it's just, you know, it's a decently fun game. I like games like this. Generally the top-down run and guns. So I mentioned like Shock Troopers I like a lot. Ninja Commando I really like. Even Shock Troopers 2, even though that one's not really a top-down one. But this game is pretty cool. Just run around, shoot things, blow stuff up. You know the deal. It's quite a bit of fun. And again, decent graphics and sound to go with it. So Senjo no Okami 2, aka Mercs. Can't go wrong with that. That's another one that's not too terribly expensive. Or it wasn't when I picked it up. Next up, I believe in North America, maybe in Europe too, I'm not sure. This game is called Twin Hawk, and you can correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. Here, though, called Daisimpu. And Daisimpu, I believe, another Toaplan developed shooter. One of their older games, I think, released in like '89 originally. So around the same time as Twin Cobra. This game is kind of cool. I think of it more as kind of like a sequel, or at least a spiritual successor to Flying Shark. So it's a pretty basic shoot 'em up. You got your biplane, you got your basic shot, and as you get power-ups, you don't get like some crazy lasers and things like that. Your shot has like more bullets. So it becomes like a wider spread shot, and it can take out more enemies at once, and obviously you're more powerful. So that's pretty cool. So they're not like a ton of power-ups or anything like that. This is kind of like the Kick cereal of like top-down, like vertically scrolling shooters from the day. Not a ton of power-ups, no crazy gimmicks, anything like that. Just a plane with bullets, and you shoot things, and that's it. Although a pretty cool feature in here, though, is that you get super bombs of a sort. It's not really a super bomb. You call in like a fleet of other aircraft that come in as support. So it's kind of similar to like one of the Strikers 1945 games, like Strikers Plus is the same thing, where there's not a super bomb, you call in like helper ships. So that's pretty cool. So they fly on screen and they shoot ahead whatever's in front of them. And if they get hit by a bullet, they get taken out. But they'll take a bullet for you, so that's pretty cool. You got some nice kamikaze ships to back you up. So this is a decent enough game. It's pretty fun. A decent port. There are also ports on the PC Engine. I believe there's a PC Engine CD version, which is the same exact game, but it just has like this really excellent soundtrack on it. Even though the soundtrack here is not that bad. But yeah, I had quite a bit of fun with this one. Was happy to pick it up. This is another one that was pretty cheap. Probably picked this up for about 20 bucks, complete with manual and everything. And it is Daisimpu Twin Hawk. Fun game indeed. And look at that, we're not taking a break. No ad breaks or anything today, people. This, an odd little game for sure. I found this. This was like 10 bucks. I couldn't say no. I myself being like a heavy metal guy, right? Here I have a copy of Crue Ball. And Crue Ball, what the hell is Crue Ball, you might be asking? This is the Motley Crue themed pinball game. With, I guess it's supposed to be Dr. Feelgood on the cover. So what the hell is this? What are you doing in here? Well, you're playing pinball, and it has like really crude Mega Drive versions of like some Motley Crue songs. You know what? I think when it comes to like Mega Drive conversions of popular music, I think Michael Jackson did a lot better in Moonwalker. But Crue Ball, I mean, you know, pretty fun. If you like video pinball, you'll probably like this. It's not the best, mind you. It's made by EA. There's like better alternatives when it comes to video pinball. You might prefer like Devil's Crush, something like that, or Alien Crush. I don't know if Alien Crush got a Mega Drive release. I think Devil's Crush did, though. Or hell, Sonic Spinball, which is like, oddly enough, one of my favorite like video pinball games ever, even though it's not really a video pinball game as much as it is. They just took like the pinball segments from like previous Sonic games and just turned that into an entire game. Even though the game kind of frustrates and pisses me off, I like it for whatever reason. But yeah, Crue Ball. Motley Crue not appearing in this game. It's not like Aerosmith whatever the hell game they had where they actually pop up in the video like little digitized versions of themselves. But yeah, you like some video pinball? Why the hell not? Crue Ball, it's out there, it's pretty cheap, and it's got this big old box too, because, you know, Electronic Arts, they like to put their games like bigger cartridges and stuff for whatever reason. I don't even know if that actually has any effect on like the size of the game or anything. Now, last two games, these are both absolute classics though, nothing to complain about. But they're, you know, pretty common games. Everybody knows about these. First up, Street Fighter 2 Dash Plus, aka Street Fighter 2, I think, Turbo. Street Fighter 2 Turbo, yes. This is like a long-ass title now that I'm looking at the box. Street Fighter 2 Dash Plus Champion Edition. That's a hell of a long title. And it's, what is this, like a 6 meg, however many megs? I don't know, whatever. Released in 1993, though, and this is a fantastic port. This and the Mega Drive version of Super Street Fighter 2, both excellent ports. I don't think they look or sound quite as good as the SNES port, but if you're playing with the 6-button controller, it just feels right. It's like, it's small enough, all those buttons are very close together, and the gameplay is just super smooth. I like that a lot. So again, if it's Street Fighter 2 Turbo, if it's Super Street Fighter 2, really got no complaints. This is a great conversion of this game. This is another one if you're going to pick it up. It's not too terribly expensive. You probably get it for like 20 bucks or so. Super Street Fighter 2 on the Mega Drive, that's a different issue. That's like probably more like a $40 or $50 game. It's less common. Although all of the Street Fighter 2s on the SNES are like really common and very affordable. But yeah, Street Fighter 2 Dash Plus Champion Edition, aka Turbo. Awesome game, but you already knew that. And then the last find, and this was good. This was like 10 bucks because it's as common as dirt. It's like maybe the best-selling Mega Drive game ever. And it's a game that anyone who's ever touched a Genesis, if you've looked in the direction of a Sega Genesis or a Mega Drive, you've played this game. So not a lot to say about it, but ladies and gents, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 with some fantastic box art. Yeah, what can I say about Sonic 2? One of my favorites Genesis and Mega Drive games. Played it a ton as a kid. I didn't have a Genesis myself growing up, but I had plenty of friends who had Genesis and then cousins. And I was at my cousin's house like all the time. And one of like only like 3 games they had was Sonic 2. But I mean, if you're gonna have 3 games on the Genesis, Sonic 2 might as well be one of them. This is one of the best, just like side-scrolling platformers like ever made. It's so fun. The graphics are so awesome. The soundtrack is amazing. It is a 100% improvement over the original Sonic the Hedgehog, which is kind of, you know, you look at Sonic the Hedgehog, the first one, you feel kind of sorry for it because it was a great game in its own right, but then you play Sonic 2 or Sonic 3, and it just becomes obsolete. You're like, oh, poor little Sonic 1. You were good. You were good in your day. That'll do, pig. That'll do. Or that'll do, Hedgehog. That'll do. But yeah, Sonic 2, I mean, one of the best games of this generation of consoles. Just a fantastic game and still like super affordable. Thankfully that the Sonic 2 is an affordable game because everyone deserves to play it. Obviously, you can pick up, there's no shortage of like Sega Genesis collections out there, whether digitally or on like a mini console or something. Or if you just want to go grab a ROM, they're all over the place. So there's no shortage of ways to play Sonic the Hedgehog 2. But one of the joys of picking up physical games like this is you get this absolutely lovely box art all the way around. You get a nice full color manual, you get the cartridge, you get everything. That'll go on a shelf somewhere, somebody's shelf. I didn't mention that all of these games I'm actually not holding on to any of these. I'm going to be sending these out to other people. But I couldn't pick these up and then not make a video about it because, come on, that's kind of the point of the channel, right? Mad Panda Gaming. Anyway, there you go. That's a stack, 8 awesome Mega Drive games that I acquired recently. Tested them all out, working just fine, cleaned up some of them a little bit. A little damage to some of the cases, but you know how these Mega Drive clamshells are. They're going to survive the apocalypse. The only thing that'll be left will be cockroaches and Mega Drive cases. And then there will be, I don't know where the hell I'm going with that, but I never know how to follow that up. Anyway, down in the comments, ladies, gents, and others, what do you think of these games? Are some of them your favorites? Are some of them your least favorites? And what games have you picked up recently? Because I'd certainly like to know. Put it all down there in the comments. Also, go down in the description. All kinds of social media stuff down there if you want to follow that. Go and check it out. And that's it. So until next time, thanks for watching, everybody. Greatly appreciated. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.